invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours. Now through December 20th, all of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net, and together we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
First things first.
Things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not 2 and 7. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis. First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. The show is called First Things First, and my first thing today and every day is giving thanks to God. Giving thanks to God Almighty, the ancestors and the elders, and getting it started. So the way we do the show on Fridays, our first hour is local stuff, what's going on the left coast. And we can connect it to the national and international, certainly at this moment in time. Hour 2, we do Freedman Friday, a comprehensive conversation on reparations. So we can all be smarter about the debt that is owed to us and how to get to that. And then hour 3, we have whatever's happening hour 3. Well, today it's lots of open space. It's time for you to call me if you want. In fact, I'm declaring call amnesty on this day. If you've called before, you are welcome back. 800-920-1580. Call amnesty for hour 1 and hour 3. For our Freedman Friday guest today, we're going to look at genealogy, what it takes to unveil your past to yourself, your ancestry, being part of this conversation, and just in time for the holidays, because you're going to spend time with family and friends. And believe it or not, if you're doing a holiday gathering, either for Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, give thanksing, whatever you call it, or for Kwanzaa, Christmas, Hanukkah, you can get some good tips from Dr. Edna Briggs on how to get started on your genealogy journey, or if you're stuck somewhere, how to unstick that conversation. 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. That's the number if you've got something to say. And it is cold. I'm not sure. It seems like the heavier rains will come next week, not this week, although the weekend has a fair chance. And I started off talking about that yesterday because it's hella chilly for us, okay? Clown if you want to. We live in California for a reason. And we're broadcasting from Leimert Park, Africa Town, which is the Black cultural center of LA. Generally, I mean, there's other cultural hubs that are important, but Leimert Park generally recognized as an arts hub for Black LA. And it's cold. For us, it's cold. And I just think about the unhoused. 44 degrees again this morning. And of course, in our usual LA style, we'll have highs around 70, but right now it's in the 40s. And I think about the unhoused. And so what are we doing about it? What are we doing about it? The LA Times actually, even though I'm still mad at them about their billionaire conspiracy to not endorse the Vice President of the United States for president, I didn't cancel my subscription, at least not yet, because I feel like I gotta have everybody's paper to be able to sit up here and be, informed, be able to share things with you that are important, et cetera, et cetera. So I say all that to say I didn't cancel the LA Times or the Washington Post, which a lot of people did around their ridiculous decision to not endorse Vice President Kamala Harris and to go along with the secret plan of the billionaires to supercharge the oligarchy. But I have not, and they have been doing an interesting series, the LA Times has, about the zoning of housing in Los Angeles. Zoning is what the city allows according to its own rules. This is an area where cities have a lot of control. They have their own rules about what can be built where. Is that zoned for commercial? Can you have a business there? Is it only for single family homes? Can you build an apartment building there? Every piece of property is zoned for specific purposes. And one of the issues that's being tackled right now in dealing with not just houselessness, but truly affordable housing, apartments that people can actually get given the available jobs in this region, right? And still have money left over for food, clothing, utilities, and the like. And so through a series of maneuverings and lobbying by the wealthy, it seems that the final zoning plan by the city of Los Angeles and then the home building plan that was approved by the city council, the LA City Council, what they're doing is they're mostly authorizing the building of new affordable housing in poor Black and Latino communities. So the affordable housing won't be expanded to Brentwood and Bel Air and West LA and those Fairfax, Mid-City, Hancock Park, all the fancy schmancy places where you mostly have single-family homes. And they are zoned for single-family homes. And this article that I was reading this morning, is talking about how because of that, because the rich have lobbied the city council, city government, and the mayor, and the mayor and the city council have backed down and given in to the idea that they shouldn't have to build in their fancy schmancy communities. As a result of that, some people who are in rent-controlled apartments, which it has to be older buildings, because y'all didn't want to pass rent control. Lord have mercy. That was the third time I think we tried that. Anyway, I can't say a lot of people. I was about to say that, but it's possible that quite a few people could lose their affordable housing because the way that the incentives are set up right now, it's in developers' interest to knock down affordable housing to build more affordable housing, meaning maybe you have 6 units, 8 units, or whatever in a building. Now they're going to be incentivized to knock down that whole building and build it up with more apartments, and a certain percentage of them, if a certain percentage of them are affordable, then those developers get all kinds of passes. They can build more apartments than they might normally build, and they get different kinds of things that make it cheaper and more profitable for them to build. But in the city is saying, well, we're going to give people money to help them while those apartments are being built and that kind of thing. Money to help them afford market rate rent. We'll see. We'll see. The part of this conversation that I feel like we need to revisit is how all of the wealthy areas get a pass from being part of building affordable housing and permanent supportive housing for the unsheltered. Because in reality, let's fast forward 5 years or 10 years. If this is successful and there's more and more bigger and bigger affordable housing buildings that are constructed in South Central Los Angeles and East Los Angeles, these areas that are already very dense and congested, and we leave the West Side and other LA destinations that are considered upscale, we leave them untouched. What happens is we'll have a more exaggerated version of the inequity that we currently have in housing. You'll have areas of South LA and East LA that are even more congested, even more densely packed and populated with people as temperatures continue to rise, with less green space. And then you'll have the rich areas exactly the way they are right now. Now, the area where I stay is South LA, Crenshaw area. It's a single family area. Most of them are small to medium and some large single family homes. And it's mostly black where I live. Well, I can understand why a person who has worked hard to buy their home and build up their community doesn't want a giant apartment building in the middle of their block, right, that they've been living on for years, or that they bought and struggled to get into that area. I can understand why they don't want to suddenly change the nature of their neighborhood. But to me, there has to be a workaround for that. We've got to find ways for everyone to share the burden, because there's too many housing units that need to be built. And I know the mayor gets this because we've had conversations about it. On the air, on this radio station, we can't build all the affordable housing, all the shelter for the unhoused, all the permanent supportive housing in South LA. That's not fair. It's not fair to infrastructure. It's not fair to those communities. In fact, there's plenty of studies that show that when you take people who are trying to get on their feet, or low-income folks, and put them in mixed-income buildings or neighborhoods, they are more likely to be able to get on their feet. So why can't we at least say in commercial corridors, you're going to allow these kinds of zoning changes, i.e., you don't have to go all the way, all along Olympic, for example, in West LA, where there's already businesses and skyscrapers and such as that. All along, I don't know, Ventura in the fancy parts of the valley, where these are already high traffic, high density areas where there's businesses. But it still puts the burden of density, of crowdedness, and the opportunity for mixed income communities on the table for every single neighborhood. Otherwise, we're doing NIMBY. We're doing NIMBY the development. And do we want to bake the Los Angeles housing covenants, which is what this separation is the legacy of? Do we want to bake that into the cake? Do we want to encode it into our Los Angeles building blueprint forever or for generations to come? Because it looks like that's what we're getting ready to do. And it's not too late to fix it. Think about it. The housing covenants purposely kept black people specifically, and to some degree other so-called minorities, but specifically kept black people out of certain neighborhoods because it was written into the contracts. It was written into the terms of the housing contracts that you couldn't sell this particular house or this block to black people. There was contractual segregation that was practiced in this town for a long, long time. Well into the 1970s, 80s. I don't know technically off the top of my head when this stopped, but I know from conversations that I've had with people that have, bought housing, that those contracts lingered. So now what we have is segregation, very segregated neighborhoods that are based on those contracts that were specifically meant to keep black people out of areas where housing would go up, would, appreciate quickly, the more shady, less polluted areas. And we still live with that legacy. And now it looks like we're getting ready to entrench that for generations to come. But like I said, it's not too late to change it. Love to hear your thoughts on this or anything else that is worrying or inspiring you this morning. You can be part of the show, 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
We're thrilled to announce that the Dear Future Wifey podcast is now available on the Urban One Podcast Network. This show, hosted by Latiris R. Whitfield, explores the journey of discovering and rediscovering love and relationships. With over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, Dear Future Wifey has become a prototype for discussions about love and relationships. Learn how to rediscover love, heal, and have faith in relationships. Go to urbanonepodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
An official message from Medicare. Couple more minutes and we'll start this month's book club.
I usually love a plot twist, but this year I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money. Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, as usual, there's some great conversation in the chat. You know, I agree, and I actually agree with some of you folks. You either have to have private development, government developing housing, or someone asked, what's the third option? Well, I don't know. There may be third and fourth options, but I don't see why the government can't be involved in housing. I know housing projects have a certain reputation, but it doesn't have to be that way. Honestly, we should improve the ones that we currently have. And I also agree with Paul saying, you know, well, Paul says he's a homeowner, but he's for limiting the amount that the speculators can buy, the Wall Street investors, the big-time corporate landlords. Yeah, I think they shouldn't be allowed to buy anything, to be honest with you, because then it becomes commodified. And housing has to be a right, not a privilege. We can't have hundreds of thousands of people on the street in the state of California and across the nation and continue to make housing a slot machine, you know, that people can play for money with no rules, no guardrails, and zero regard for the fact that people are dying on these streets. Well, we may be a ways away from my vision happening. It is happening in some places, and I point to my brother Raz Baraka, who's the mayor of Newark, New Jersey. He's currently running for New Jersey governor, but in the city of Newark, he has been able to create incentives for individuals to buy buildings and houses, and disincentives or upcharges for corporate buyers. So if corporate buyers are trying to get into the market or expand their hold on the market, they have a huge investment in Los Angeles, for example. And it makes sense because there's a lot of money to be made here because our housing market is so overheated and overpriced. Then you have to charge them extra, or they have to have fees. They have to have disincentives so that that money can be plowed into creating government housing or upgrading the government housing we have, or helping mom and pop landlords to buy and keep homes, or having the government buy and convert some of these, buy existing apartment buildings that are owned by corporations and buy existing office developments, malls, and office buildings that are partway done, like the graffiti towers, and complete those, buy them, take them by eminent domain, hotels, apartment buildings, and take a more aggressive stance. You said it was an emergency, LA County, LA City, state of California. So let's act like it's an emergency and take some more drastic, radical measures. Yeah, a lot of interesting conversation here in the chat. Starving Myself to Life says there are some areas in Detroit that are so downtrodden, they're selling the houses for $200 in some cases if we bought up a square mile. I can see that, and I'm all for that. I actually know some people who have bought places there. But also, and you're talking about creating black enclaves inside of, or conscious enclaves, progressive neighborhoods, communities inside of existing infrastructure, and I get that. But again, back to my original point, why is it that we can't have prime real estate? Why is it that we're being locked out of these supposedly upscale neighborhoods? I like where I live. I like living with black people. I like living in Crenshaw. I'm not complaining. But if we know that we've got to build hundreds of thousands of units, I think it's 250,000 if I'm remembering correctly, in LA, why should they all be in East LA and South Central? It's all these so-called liberals that live on the west side, and I know some of them have gone MAGA, but another great article in the LA Times, and also Rachel Maddow did an excellent job of highlighting that people are calling this a landslide based on early vote counts before we got all the votes, and it ain't no landslide. It ain't no mandate. So it's true that the Bush crash of 2008, followed by the disastrous 2016 election of a reality show star, has left black wealth in tatters, has left us unhoused and unequitied. That's a word, because black people took the brunt of the Bush crash of 2008, the so-called Great Recession, was a time when a great number of black people lost our houses. And that's that, but that doesn't mean let's throw up our hands and say boo-hoo. We got to fight to get that stuff back, and we have to fight even under the current Republican authoritarian administration. We can fight in the places where we have power, and theoretically, LA is one of those places. Starving myself to life, says Raz Baraka, from my understanding, has done incredible things for Newark. He doesn't get enough credit. But honestly, he doesn't seem to care about that. He's about the work. Yeah, that is true of my brother. And I think, and it's actually two of my brothers, because my brother, Midi Baraka, is the chief of staff for Raz. And he is on the ground, making a lot of the things happen that Raz envisions and engenders enthusiasm for. Be nice if he got some credit now, though, because he's trying to run for governor of Newark, and there's been fewer than one handful of black governors in the entire history of the United States. I think it's 2 that we've had, ever. And no black women. So, yeah, if you feel like, donating $1 or $1 million to my bro, you can use it right now. And this is a time for him to get credit. But I don't just say that because this is my brother. I say it because he's doing a good job. I mean, really, honestly, no hate, but better than no shade. Better than any of us expected. I knew he'd be great because I know his politics. But you can have progressive politics. Implementing that into policy is a whole other challenge. And that's why I give credit to campaign manager and now chief of staff Midi as well, who came from the hip-hop world, working with Jermaine Dupri and having his own rap deal into politics and just killing the game. We have to try to get those policies from coast to coast, whatever your city or county. That's what I think we need to be asking our electeds for. 800-920-1580, news, traffic, and sports. Then your phone calls. KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. After the 2024 elections, a record number of women will serve in state legislatures across the U.S., increasing by at least 19 seats to make up about a third of all state seats, according to the Rutgers Center for American Women and Politics. Neuralink, Elon Musk's brain chip company, is set to begin clinical trials in Canada. These trials will assess the safety and effectiveness of the chip in helping quadriplegics control devices with their thoughts. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has labeled the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for him as anti-Semitic. The ICC also issued warrants for his former defense minister and the head of Hamas's armed wing, citing alleged crimes against humanity and war crimes in Gaza. And Sean Diddy Combs will appear in a New York City courtroom today, seeking release from jail. He has been held without bond since September. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are going for their 7th straight win tonight. They play Orlando at Crypto.com. Tip-off time at 7:30. When you get a chance today, check out ESPN.com. They've got a wonderful cover story on USC women's basketball star Juju Watkins. The sophomore from Watts is projected to be the next face of women's college basketball after the graduation of former Iowa star Caitlin Clark, who's now in the WNBA. Last season, Watkins averaged 27.1 points and set the NCAA scoring record for freshmen with 920. The third-ranked Trojans are at home Saturday against number 6 Notre Dame at 1 o'clock. 4 days ago, Julian Lewis, the nation's top-rated high school quarterback, told USC he had changed his mind about coming to the school. Today, the senior from Carrollton, Georgia, announced he's going to enroll at the University of Colorado and play for Deion Sanders. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, LA, it's time to step up and be a climate change hero. Go Metro and help us shape a better future for all Angelinos. From enhancing our diverse communities to preserving our planet, Metro is dedicated to making a positive impact with every ride. Start your journey at metro.net.
Add confidence to every holiday adventure and get it done with a rugged and capable Chevy truck or SUV. Find your red tag. Get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select popular Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Silverado, Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 22.2%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/2/24.
Are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights? KBLA Talk 1580 is your partner in success. Every day, we celebrate and elevate Black-owned businesses across our community. Our KBLA SMB Marketplace currently features The Cookie Dip, Badass Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Okay, so I have been getting some questions, folks calling me about the hearing for former council member, former SCLC of Southern California executive director, former county supervisor, Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas. So that hearing happened yesterday in Pasadena for the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And they're looking at the conviction, possibly overturning this conviction. Now, if you remember, Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas was found not guilty on most of the charges that the feds brought against him, but still was convicted on a few of them, and would end up, if this holds up in court, would end up doing close to 4 years in prison after a lifetime of service. And so, no, there was no ruling there. We won't know. We won't know. We don't even know when we'll know. The court will ponder it, and then they'll make an announcement. Some experts have said, it could be months. We might not know till summertime. Could be sooner. But according to Courthouse News Service, the panel of judges seem to be feeling the Mark Ridley Thomas team's legal arguments. Because the heart of what the Fed said is that Mark Ridley Thomas took $100,000 from his ballot committee, gave it to the USC School of Social Work, and then the School of Social Work donated it to a nonprofit that was set up by Sebastian Ridley Thomas, who's a son of MRT. And that in itself constituted a thing of value and thus a bribe. But what the lawyers, the new legal team of Mark Ridley Thomas is arguing, how is funneling a thing of value? I give this money to the school, they give it to a nonprofit organization. It doesn't end up in MRT's pocket. Not a dime of money enriched the former council member, former supervisor. And so that's pretty much the argument that the attorneys made. Flynn's assistants didn't personally enrich Ridley Thomas, which is kind of the basis of making a bribery charge, is that somebody gets something valuable in exchange for doing a thing. And one of the reasons this case seems so whack is that the thing that Mark Ridley Thomas is accused of doing in exchange for helping the university is something he would have done anyway. Voting to get contracts for the Department of Social Work, contracts which the USC Department of Social Work is qualified for, has done similar things in the past. Ridley Thomas is an alumni, and he's a representative of that district. There's no way he wouldn't be recommending and voting yes on those contracts anyway. So you're saying he did a thing that he was already going to get a thing that he didn't actually get. And that's apparently, that's the argument the lawyers are making, hopefully better than I just did. And according to Courthouse News Service, U.S. Circuit Judge Morgan Kristen, who was appointed by Barack Obama, by the way, seemed confused about how that payment would constitute a bribe. I give you money and then it goes to a nonprofit and it never ends up in my pocket. How is that a bribe? And then apparently Judge Anthony Johnstone, who was appointed by Joe Biden, had questions about how the movement of money, Mark Ridley Thomas's money, from the ballot committee to the nonprofit had financial value at all, since that move was legal. It's not illegal. What he did wasn't illegal. You might not like how it looks, but it's actually legal. And so apparently the judge was wondering that out loud. These appear to be very good signs for Dr. Ridley Thomas. And of course, we'll be covering this the moment that there is a decision in this case. That would be amazing. Let's say he wins on appeal. I guess we're going to have to get Attorney Dion Raymond or somebody else in here to really break down what that means going forward. Obviously, it means that Dr. Ridley Thomas would not go to jail, prison. But here's my other questions. How does he get his money back for all the money that he spent to try to defend his freedom and his good name? How does he get his political career back? We've already had an election and elected a qualified woman to that seat. Those years have come and gone. How do you... Yeah, a lot to unpack there. But this judge, this Circuit Judge Anthony Johnstone, says we have we have said in some of the cases that there has to be both a financial and subjective value. The pie is not getting bigger in this case. My understanding is that this legal team, no disrespect to the old one, but apparently this legal team that Dr. Ridley Thomas has now is nothing to play with. Nothing to play with. The jury had found MRT guilty of bribery and conspiracy and honest services wire fraud. Again, as reported so brilliantly by our own Dion Raymond, who has a show on the weekends you can listen to called The Justice Files. This is a case where the jury appeared very confused. And they had all these charges. I think it was close to 20 charges. I can't remember. It was a lot of charges. 12 of them they said no. And perhaps they felt they had to convict on something since the feds had all these charges, and who the heck really understands what honest services wire fraud means if you're not an attorney. Yeah, it will be very interesting to see. And if I'm Marilyn Flynn, the former dean of the School of Social Work at USC, who took a plea deal, of course she's 80-something and didn't want to have to risk any jail time. If I'm her and I took a plea deal and then Dr. Ridley Thomas comes out on top, I'm going to feel like I just failed to defend my name and became an admitted criminal for no good reason. Yeah, it's I don't know. I want us to talk about it because I hope that, and I do believe, just like people packing the courthouse has an impact, that so does conversation, the public caring about a thing, and us talking about a thing, and having strong opinions. Whew, I guess the Menendez brothers trial starts Monday, and it's such a popular ticket that they're doing a lottery for seats. It starts 10:30 in the morning at the Van Nuys Courthouse on Monday, and this LA County Superior Court is having a lottery from 9 to 9:30. I guess you have to show up, put your bid in, and then you get to, by lottery, you find out whether or not you get a seat in the courtroom. I think it's so wild and really interesting that DA-elect Nathan Hochman was criticizing George Gascon, the current DA, for reviewing the Menendez brothers case, but now he's going around making all these statements that he's going to be reviewing the Menendez brothers case. Oh, the prevarication. Let's go to Juliet calling from Watts. Good morning, Juliet.
Good morning, my beautiful people, my beautiful, beautiful people with this beautiful struggle. Dominique, I just got a question. What about Kevin De Leon, Nuri Martinez, Gil Cedillo, whatever his name is, Ron Herrera? I don't want to assassinate their names, but
yeah, you said it perfectly.
They need to be investigated because those big old eyesores. The Chinese mafia was teamed up with the Mexican mafia and money laundering and stuff like that. A lot of the F-13s. Those buildings. Where's this money?
Which eyesores are you referring to? And I don't know about the Chinese mafia teaming up with the Mexican mafia. You have to put me up on game. Send me an article I can read or some evidence.
Okay, it's an article since 2017. They've been investigating. Once the feds get on you, they've been on you for a couple of years.
At least.
Yeah, and they're money laundering. But my thing is, those people were the Chinese developers, and who was the developers, and who was the laborers?
Are you talking about the graffiti buildings?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Those to be houses.
Yeah.
But he must have had some pay to play.
Huh. Well. Yeah.
And she took money from our district. Come to find out, when they used to put the porta potties and the things where you wash your hands, they were stationing them in areas over down Central Avenue and around this area where people were homeless. When that lady got in, they stopped that funding.
Yeah. Well, the hand washing stations. I didn't track the funding for that either, but I do think that it would be worth investigating the whole story of those graffiti buildings on 11th and Figaro, and it's city money, taxpayer money that was used. LAPD time that was used to guard some buildings that didn't need to be guarded, and if they were to be guarded, that should have been paid for by the owners of that project. I think it's hilarious because I've been saying to me they're beautiful art pieces that look a lot like pieces in the downtown museums, and I think that the city should take them by eminent domain, finish them, leave the graffiti there. I've said that all along. People think I'm nutty, because I am a OG hip hop person. Maybe that's why I say that. No, and this is an I told you so moment, because now they've become a huge tourist attraction. Everyone wants to take their picture with the graffiti towers. It's a thing. I agree with you, though, that there should be an investigation. It is true that developer is from China, and they claim that they ran out of money, and then they just dump it on the city. We've got to pay we, the taxpayers, have to pay for your security and everything. 3,000 hours plus of personnel time from the LAPD. I say Ocean View Plaza is what it's called. We call it the graffiti towers. I can't remember the name of the Chinese development company, but surely they should have to pay for every hour of police time that was spent on that. And then we should take the buildings and make them into the beautiful downtown graffiti towers housing development. 800-920-1580. Juliet, stay with me if you like. And now you know how Juliet got in. This is a place where we're amplifying Black and progressive voices all the time. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SNAP to get an extra 35 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus.
Tips to help improve basic steps for building a budget in 2024. Building a budget can help you achieve and reach your financial goals. With a budget, you can keep track of your spending, avoid and get out of debt, limit overspending, pay bills on time, and build solid savings habits. What's the best way to get started? Figure out how much to set aside for expenses, like rent, mortgage, bills, groceries, and entertainment. Understanding your past financial habits can help you make the proper adjustments for your budget. Adjusting to a budget can take time as you work to find the right balance, but keep working on it. For more financial health tips, visit chase.com or stop by a local branch. This segment is sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
After you use Bounce Dryer sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll put a sheet on your every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Put a sheet on or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Put a sheet on your maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you. Okay, bounce dryer sheets can't do it all. But for fresher, softer, better laundry, put a sheet on it with Bounce.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
Yes, indeed. So it's Oceanwide Holdings is the name of that Chinese company, Oceanwide Holdings. Now, they have put those towers up for sale, even though they're not completed. And I don't know how you could put it up for sale, but apparently they have. They're selling condos, maybe? Again, I can't see any reason why we would not take action. And I don't know, what the criteria are, but I know that throughout the history of Los Angeles, the city and the county have seized land and buildings when there was a compelling interest, when there was an emergency, not even an emergency. I mean, if you look at Bruce's Beach, they said they were going to put up a park. If you look at the Ebony Beach Club in Santa Monica, they said they were going to make a parking lot, which never arrived, and simply took that land from the black people that owned it. So when you have egregiously abandoned something and cost the city tens of thousands, possibly more, I don't know, how much does 3,000 plus police hours cost? It's a lot of money, I'll tell you that. To me, that's, and we're in the middle of an emergency, a real live unhoused person's emergency. The people's towers is what they really should be. Yeah, so how'd we get on that? Oh, yeah, Juliet from Watts called 800-920-1580. She didn't want to stay on with us, but you're certainly welcome to weigh in any time today. And I have said that we will have amnesty. The Mexican cartel leader that the Biden administration was talking about on yesterday, saying this is a big victory for them. They've arrested this high-ranking member of a drug cartel who was living in the United States under a phony identity after faking his own death. Guess where he was? Riverside. Cristian Fernando Gutierrez Ochoa, who is the son-in-law of the Jalisco New Generation cartel boss called El Mencho, who's apparently a fugitive from the law, was arrested on drug trafficking and money laundering offenses. He had been living in Riverside ever since he ran away, fled from Mexico using a fake name after faking his own death. Apparently, he's charged with conspiring to import thousands of kilos of meth and cocaine into the U.S., using violence to further the cartel's illegal activities, kidnapping 2 Mexican Navy members to try to get El Mencho's wife released by Mexican authorities, and on and on. And, this is a big deal. It also begs the question, like, how many cartel members are, to Juliet's point, incorporated into our business community, doing business in various ways? I don't know. But hey, faking your own death and moving to Riverside, it sounded like a good plan. No one will find me here. But as Juliet said, when she called, apparently when the feds get on you, they stay on you. Another reason to wear a mask or keep your parties outside, or perhaps just to a few friends, is the whooping cough is back. I guess the whooping cough comes around every few years and has a comeback, but it's actually really a problem if you get the whooping cough. And apparently we have got 3 times as many cases as we had last year. 1,700 cases so far, 1744 in California. If you have asthma or you're a little baby under 1, you're probably not listening to this show in that case, but that means you're at higher risk. And so if you have a cough and you've had it for a long time and it's really not going away, you might want to check on that. So, just another reason to put on that mask. When we wore the masks, and I'm not going to, you don't see me wearing one right now, and I'm not going to lie and act like I wear a mask all the time, but I try to now, right now. I don't want to be sick anymore. I had a few different things this past few months. And you saw the flu. It wasn't just COVID that went down when we were distancing and wearing the masks. It was also the flu and apparently whooping cough, because the germs are in the little tiny spray that comes out of people's mouths when they cough. You get sprayed with the cough and you can get the whooping. The whoop, where we're going with that. Apparently, California has more good news, aside from the fact that as we continue, the count for Kamala Harris goes up, and up, which is why this so-called mandate for Trump turns out to be just smoke and mirrors, that women are making strides in the state in terms of representation. After our election, this most recent election, women will now be at 59 out of 120 of the state's seats in the legislature. That's almost half, and that's amazing. It's the first time ever, by the way. When we were in Kenya, Miles and I, when we were in Kenya last year, we were talking to one activist who was explaining how the organizing of the people forced the government to create a rule. There's a rule in Kenya where neither gender, can have more than a certain number of seats. I think it's 50%, but I can't remember specifically. So when either men or women reach too high of a number, then they have to move people up or take measures to bring gender balance. That'll never happen under this current authoritarian, anti-equity, anti-including you Republican administration. But the fact that California has done it voluntarily is amazing. Women hold 49% of legislative seats. It's a huge jump from last decade when we were at 31%. So women, equity, diversity, inclusion, on the move, even as the party of the authoritarians tries to beat it down. It's time for Freedman Friday next hour, and we're talking genealogy. It's all about reparations on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. After the 2024 elections, a record number of women will serve in state legislatures across the U.S., increasing by at least 19 seats to make up about a third of all state seats, according to the Rutgers Center for American Women